So when you need to factor with difference of squares, you hit the square root button of 121, you get 11. So we know in this cubbyhole it's 11, because 11 squared is 121. We know that this cubbyhole has to be x squared, because x squared to the second gets you x to the fourth. So it's x squared plus 11, x squared minus 11. Same thing for number 7. The square root of 49 is 7, so the second cubbyhole is 7, because 7 squared is 49. And then over here on the left, the square root of 16 is 4, and then if we need x to the fourth, besides the 4 must be x squared, because 4x squared times 4x squared gets you 16x to the fourth. So it's 4x squared plus 7, 4x squared minus 7. Now this next one, I would first try to hit the square root button in my calculator, but you'll get a decimal. Try hitting the cube root button in your calculator. Remember, that's under the math key. You scroll down and you hit the one that says cube root. And then you would enter the number, and then you hit enter. But either way, it's a decimal. So that should be a hint, oh yeah, there's a GCF that I need to factor out. So that's why we divide out of 2. And then with what's remaining, x cubed minus 100, we decide, or sorry, x to the 8th minus 100, we decide, is it square root or cube root? Okay, well, square root of 100 is 10, and the cube root of 100 is a decimal. So we're not going to do cubes, we're going to go with squares. So what squared is x to the 8th? It's x to the 4th, because 4 times 2 is 8. What squared is 100? 10. So it's x to the 4th plus 10, x to the 4th minus 10. And then don't forget to put that original GCF2 in front. So I'm going to skip down to one of the harder ones, so number 10 for sum and difference of cubes. So first you've got to memorize the formula. It's a squared, b squared. The signs that go in between have to do with SOAP. The first sign is always the same. So for example, if it's a negative, the first sign is negative. O stands for the next is opposite, and the last is always positive. Then we need to find out what the A and B are. A is always in your first cubbyhole, B is in your second. So I use my calculator and I hit the cube root button. Remember, you hit math and then you scroll down to the key that says cube root, and then you enter whatever number it is. 1,000, we would get 10. Therefore, we know we're using the cubes, not the squares. So 10 goes here, 10 cubed is 1,000. And then I hit the cube root button, and the cube root of 27 is 3. 3 to the third is 27, and we need an x. So A is at 3x, and B is 10. And we just plug it into the spot. So 3x minus 10. Be careful with a squared. A squared is 3x times 3x, which is 9x squared. A times B is 3x times 10, or 30x. B squared is 10 times 10, which gets us 100. And for this next one in 11, you see the cube, so right away you're like, okay, I'm going to be using the sum or difference of cubes. In this case, it would be sum. But if you try to take the cube root of the number 2, you get a decimal. That's a hint, oh yeah, there's a GCF, most likely. So we take out a 2, we're left with 64x to the third plus 1. You then pretend that you're not looking at the 2. Cube root of 1 is 1, so B is 1. Cube root of 64 is 4. And then we have an x. So A is 4x, and then B is 1. A squared, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. A times B is 4x. A squared, or B squared is 1. For this last section, like number 13, you are just factoring a trinomial. Instead of it saying, for example, x squared plus 5x plus 6, what multiplies to 6 that adds to 5? X plus 2, x plus 3. It's the same concept, we're just going to now have a power that's higher, like 4 or something else. So, when we look at number 13, we're looking for a combo that multiplies to a times c, or multiplies to 1 times 6. So what multiplies to 6 that adds to b or adds to 7? So that combo is 1 and 6, so we write those numbers right here. And on the left, instead of an x, it's got to be x squared, because x squared times x squared gets us x to the 4th. So if you FOILed, you would get your original problem. Okay, let's do one more of these. So let's look at number 15. So first, you always want to take out a GCF first. We could take out the 3x. Now, you got to pretend that this green box is the problem you're looking at. What combo multiplies to A, 5, times C, negative 36? So what multiplies to negative 180? That adds to B, negative 24. 6 and negative 30. So in that green box, we write 6, negative 30. We know the left sides have to be x squared, since it's multiplies to x to the 4th. Now, x squared times x squared is not 5x to the 4th. Therefore, we remember, oh yeah, factors over front simplify swing out. So we put the factors over the front number 5. Simplify. So the only one that simplified is negative 30 over 5 became negative 6. And if there's a denominator left, it comes in front of the x, like this 5 did. So now we fully factored. This doesn't break down any further because the square root of 6 is a decimal, so it cannot go further.